This is the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013.
Envision a dome that shakes and intimidates. And when we get the opposition in the loud house, we lock the doors behind them and we don't let them out. For 60 minutes or more, whatever it takes, they are locked in the dome, and we don't let them escape. It's our job to put a product on the field that the community can say, that is us. We want to put the fear of God in the opposing football player that happens to have the ball underneath his arm. I envision a hard-nosed team that's from a hard-nosed town. And the thing I like about Syracuse, the city, is that the people that live here and embrace it are tough people. They're hard-nosed people that work their ass off, and they expect a hard-nosed football team.
The 2013 Syracuse football season is upon us. Good evening. I'm Niko Tamurian, and welcome to the Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff 2013. I'm joined tonight by a man who rushed for over 2,400 yards. Is that right, in a Syracuse uniform?
It could be. That's what the stat books say.
Unbelievable stuff right there. Damien Rhodes. Damien, thank you so much for being with us this season.
No, it's great to be here, and we're looking forward to getting this season kicked off on Saturday, and I know the city of Syracuse is as well.
Absolutely, down at MetLife Stadium. And Damien, you know, this season is just so unique. A new coach, a new conference, a new quarterback even. How do you expect the Orange to handle it here in 2013?
I think they're going to handle it well. They got a great leader in Scott Schaefer, and I think he's going to bring a little more energy to not only the team, but the community, the city, something that, you know, it's not a knock on Doug at all, but something that I think has been needed in the city of Syracuse to bring excitement back to the Dome, and hopefully that Dome will be filled up when they take the field, not this weekend, but the following weekend when Wagner comes.
Absolutely, it's a huge help. And you know, Damien, you can call it cliche when you hear a coach or a team tell you that the most important game is the next one. We've all heard it, right? But Saturday's game against Penn State, on that stage at MetLife Stadium, I mean, you really can't overstate how big this game is.
No, you can't. Anytime you have the first game of the season, it is the most important game because it's the first game you have and it's the next game that's in front of you. And they need to get out to a fast start, and not necessarily in terms of the win, but in terms of how they play that first quarter. They can't come out sluggish like some of the games they came out in the past and wait till that late third quarter, fourth quarter to pick it up. They need to come out hard right now and set the tone, let people know that Syracuse is here to stay.
Getting me excited, man. I can't wait. I mean, no doubt it's going to be a great game, and we can't wait to see how it all shakes out. We'll definitely take a deeper look at Penn State later on in this show, but 2013 is very special. It's Syracuse's first year in the ACC, and of course now Kellie Cowan joins us now for a look at SU's new home. The road ahead. Kellie.
It's a season that Syracuse football fans will remember for a lifetime. The first time that the Orange will suit up as a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference. New faces all over the schedule, some teams that Syracuse hasn't seen in more than 20 years. All in all, it's better competition for the players and coaches and better entertainment for the 50,000 fans at the Carrier Dome. When Scott Schaefer was hired, he said that he wanted to storm the ACC and prove a few skeptics wrong in year one. Now the ACC schedule for Syracuse doesn't kick off until October 5th. That's when the Orange hosts the preseason conference favorite Clemson Tigers. That'll be the 5th game of the season after the Orange takes on a pair of Big Ten teams in Penn State and Northwestern. Along with Wagner and Tulane, the first half of the season is capped off by a trip to Raleigh as the Orange take on NC State. As for the second half of the season, it's a little bit of new mixed with some old rivals that Syracuse fans are used to seeing. The Orange hit the road again for a contest with Georgia Tech on October 19th and get a much-needed week off before the home stretch of the schedule. They'll face 5 teams in November, including some new ACC foes like Wake Forest, before hitting the road for Maryland and meeting up with the Florida State Seminoles in Tallahassee in their first 3 weeks. They'll also run into some of the old guard from the Big East. Pitt and Boston College close out the 2013 schedule. So there's your look at the schedule, and we'll take a closer look at the conference and what the ACC members are saying about Syracuse's arrival a little bit later in the show.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Now, Tom Eschen is here. And Damien, as you mentioned, not only a new conference, but a new head coach in Scott Schaefer.
Yeah.
I think Scott was the right choice. I remember telling people when they were doing the look that, you know, to go outside of the program would have been the wrong move. The guy was right there in Scott, and when Daryl made the move to hire him, I know I was fired up. I know I was telling a lot of people, you should be fired up about this move, and I think it's going to show a lot of people, not just in the city, not just at the university, but throughout the country, that he's someone that should have had a head coaching job a long time ago.
He's been in the program for, he's been in the field of the profession for enough years that that definitely deems true. Well, there's been an evolution in the SU coaching staff in the past decade. After Greg Robinson was let go a few years ago, Doug Marrone then took over, and he obviously raised the discipline a little bit. A lot of people talked about some of the players on the team at different points that they were let go because they didn't have the discipline he was looking for. And then, as we were mentioning, Scott Schaefer took over the program and changed the mindset even from more discipline to intensity.
He's screwing you guys over!
It's no secret. Scott Schaefer is intense.
He's a fiery guy, and you just got to know that. And the players understand that.
Coach with a lot of fire. The biggest thing that we tell the guys, we want to be controlled chaos.
And I think you can tell in just his interviews or just the way he acts.
He played quarterback at a Division III school, Baldwin-Wallace University, but his mindset is tailored for the defensive side of the ball, so it's no surprise that he's been a defensive coach since he broke into the profession in 1991 at the University of Indiana, a mindset he brought to the Orange on his first day as head coach.
The people that live here and embrace it are tough people. They're hard-nosed people that work their ass off, and they expect a hard-nosed football team. And in my opinion, it's our job to put a product on the field that the community can say, that is us. That is our team. They're physical, and they're going to get after you when you come to the Dome.
Now it's his job to instill that philosophy in the entire team and not just the defense. So he brought in guys he's familiar with who share that same mindset. First, new defensive coordinator and former Cleveland Browns defensive assistant, Chuck Bullock, who says Schaefer hasn't changed in his first few months as head coach.
Coach Schaefer's the same as when he was a coordinator. He's a fiery guy, and you just got to know that. And the players understand that. It's lucky that they had him before. It's not a new head coach that they have no idea who he is. They know he's a fiery guy, and if he's not right, he's gonna let them know, which is the right thing to do. I believe in the same thing. That's why me and Coach Schaefer get along so well. Our philosophies are so alike.
And then George McDonald, who was the passing game coordinator at Miami last season, who's impressed with Schaefer's emphasis on making every athlete count.
As a position coach, you kind of just worry about your own little pod. As a coordinator, you worry about your own little unit. But I think that's the best thing that he's done that I've seen is that every day when we meet, we talk about how can we make this experience for the players better. You know, what can we do to keep stimulating them to get them to tap out on their potential.
These three have more than just a philosophy in common, as in 2005, all three were at Western Michigan University. Schaefer, a defensive coordinator, McDonald, an offensive coordinator, and Bola at linebackers coach. In 2004, without those three, Western Michigan went 1-10. In 2005, the team went 7-4, as they got the players to buy into their tough, fast, and physical mindset, which Schaefer is starting to do in Syracuse.
He's very passionate about everything, and that's something that we all take away from him. You know, everything we do, we're all very passionate. We care very much about the game, our assignment, up to the very little things that we do. You know, if I don't get my first step right on a certain block, I'm going to be pretty ticked off at myself. You know, and I expect the guy next to me to be the same way, because I know Coach Schaefer's going to hold us to the highest standard, because that's what he does for himself.
The way that he handles it, and the way that he talks to us out there, you know, you can't help but just love the guy and want to play for him. I love coaches that you want to play for, and he's one of them.
Time will tell if it all takes hold for the Orange this season, but win or lose, you can bet that Schaefer's intensity won't fade.
We're going to go to the damn ACC, and we're going to storm that conference, and we're going to do better than people think we can in year one with a hard-nosed football team that represents this community.
And as you mentioned, Damien, you know, a lot of the former players like yourself, they share that feeling that, you know, he was the right fit. And even the current players have said that too, that they wanted him at this position at this time.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you can stay with somebody that's in the program, you know, he's well liked by the players, the coaches respect him. it makes it a lot easier when you have a transition. I remember going through it with Coach Robinson coming in, the new guy coming in.
Right.
There's a lot of different wrinkles that take place, and it's a complete 180 from what you're used to doing. And so having Coach Schaefer gives them some consistency from what they've done in the past.
I mean, you know, I don't think they'd want me, but his post-game press conference, his introduction press conference, kind of makes me want to see if I have any eligibility left, but they probably don't want
like
me.
Drew Allen said, it makes you want to play football.
Exactly, he really does. Tom, thank you so much. Great report there. And we're just getting warmed up here on the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013. When we come back, who will be that new quarterback? Ryan Nassib left a pretty big void at the position by going to the NFL. Will it be Drew Allen or Terrell Hunt to fill that role? I was able to sit down with both candidates. That story comes up after the break. Of course, during games, during the season, you can follow Damien and myself on Twitter. Damien can be found at FM Hornet Pride. Find me at Niko Tamurian. Easy enough. We'll be right back.
The Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff 2013. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff 2013.
Welcome back. Now we know how important the quarterback position, of course, is in the game of football. It goes without saying, Damien. And we won't know who the starter is, Scott Schaefer says, until basically kickoff on Saturday. So here's your inside look at the candidates, Drew Allen and Terrell Hunt. It's this week's player profile here on the Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff 2013. Two quarterbacks, two different stories, one starting job up for grabs. For Terrell Hunt and Drew Allen, the battle to be the starting quarterback at Syracuse University means so much more than just being the first man to step on the field against Penn State. For Hunt, it's all for his family. His mother tragically passed away after a valiant fight against cancer in 2010. His father passed a year later. Terrell dedicates his time in Orange to them and his extended family that supported him in good times and in bad. You've overcome so much, and you've proven so much to so many people. How much more does that motivate you here in these final weeks of camp to do that one more time?
Yeah, it feels amazing because there's opportunity and you only get one time, so being able to just get the opportunity and overcome a bunch of things. I want to be a role model to younger kids that actually went through hard times and think that was the end of the world when it actually is not. More people are coming toward you, and just behind your corner, basically, just telling you, keep on pushing. It's okay if you fail. Just keep on working. So that's amazing. It's like a whole nother family out there, just egging you on to keep doing better and keep doing better. So it's a great feeling.
No doubt, it's easy to root for Hunt, but even after 2013, he does have 2 seasons left in Orange. For Drew Allen, this year is his one last chance. After 3 seasons at Oklahoma sitting behind NFL draft picks, this campaign represents one final opportunity to make his mark in college and perhaps professional football. That emotion, like whether it's you, Terrell, but when Mackey snaps that ball, what's that emotion going to be like for you?
It's going to be a rewarding feeling to just be out there and know that I've been working for 23 years for this one, start, for this one game that starts everything else. And, there's so much emotion with me and how much I've invested in it. The blood, sweat, tears, the teammates, everybody that I've come encounter with, everybody that I've worked so hard with in order to get here. But it's not all about me and how much I've invested. It's about how much my parents have invested and my family and how much my friends and my girlfriend's been with me for a year and a half. Just the way that my parents have supported me, and we've been through so much together and so much adversity. It's just going to be such a rewarding and emotional feeling. But at the same time, that first snap, I got to be locked in and ready to go.
Perhaps it's a bond forged by the fire that both have endured. But for Allen and Hunt, the competition is merely that.
It's amazing, because, you dream about this growing up as a kid, and, most people don't actually reach their dream, and be able to be in arm reach is fantastic.
Competing for a spot in a sport is a tough thing because every man competing for that spot wants it so bad. But in order to compete at a high level, you need to feed off each other. And you need to have a healthy competition. To be able to say, hey, coach made his decision, this is the way it is, that takes a pretty big man to do that. And I think it makes it a lot easier, or it makes it a lot better when the quarterbacks are a tight-knit group, because you're like, hey, you're dang good, but hey, I'm ready right behind you.
You know, Damien, it goes without saying after hearing that story, both guys are very impressive. Just however it shakes out, what's your thought on this competition and how much better it will make the team on Saturday?
No, I think it's good because obviously the players have to raise themselves to a higher level to make sure that they're ready to play the game. They did work they have to do throughout the spring, especially Terrell. He did a great job in the spring ball over the summer. Then Drew came in, and if he's in the running to be a starting quarterback, there's obviously things about him. The team has to like him. He has to be a leader. And from a football standpoint, clearly he has the intangibles and the physical skill set to take over this team.
Yeah, and it's absolutely impressive. Obviously, Terrell's overcome so much, and Drew, he sees it as his one last chance, and he's certainly trying not to squander that. We'll see who's on the field, of course. 3:30 Saturday. Pretty exciting stuff.
It'll be exciting.
Absolutely.
I know Syracuse is waiting to find out. The city is. But I think Penn State, they have an issue to figure out which one's playing, because I do think it changes the dynamic of the team, which one's back there.
Absolutely. Damien, thank you. Now, we have a fun bit of trivia for you. I'm wondering if you even know the answer to this, Damien. It's a tough one. We'll give everybody a few minutes to figure this out. But the question is, what current BCS bowl game was the first ever to invite Syracuse? Remember, that means the Orange Sugar, Rose, and Fiesta Bowl. The answer comes after the break. Damien says Fiesta. We'll find out. Welcome back to the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013. We have a heck of a crew here right now. Of course, Damien, Tom, myself. I'm the one who sticks out here in the lighter suit. But of course, former SU linebacker and Linebackers Coach Dan Conley. Danny, thanks for joining us, man.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Now, you notice we've kind of opened up the space here a little bit. We're going to look now at the keys to victory for the Orange. It's really exciting stuff here. So let's break off into formation. Now, we don't know too much about this coaching staff. We know that George McDonald, the new coordinator, likes to open things up. We know a little bit about he's run the pistol in his past. So Damien and I will represent the offense. You guys, Tom's a former D-back in college, by the way. So this is natural. You guys are on defense. Let's line up in the pistol. And how do you defend this? It seems like there's so many options to do out of it. Let's get lined up. Well, first, where do I go? I don't know where I'm going.
You can go to you can be the D-back.
Right. I'm going to stand here, so I'm still in frame here.
It's still in. The nice thing about the pistol, which it gives, the offense is a lot of variety, is the defense, first of all, doesn't know which way the back's going to go. I know from a defensive standpoint, it's hard to get your read steps right away because you don't know which way he's going to go. And you can also have a lot of different alignments from the receiver position. You can either go 2-by-2 or you can go 3-by-1. You can motion a guy across or even put, almost a heavy backfield where I can have a back on each side of me and one behind me, and now you have a loaded backfield. So from that standpoint, it gives you a lot of variation what you can do. From a throwing standpoint, the quarterback sees the coverage right now, gets the ball a little quicker, and he can get rid of it quicker. So they want to do that short and immediate passing game that helps them get rid of it.
And Danny, when everything that Damien was just talking about, say I'm the back and I'm coming up here getting the ball.
Right.
How do you and Tom react now?
Tackle you.
Well, no, don't tackle me. I don't need to get hurt here.
The biggest thing the coordinator is going to understand is when the tailback's in the pistol position is where we're going to set our front. If Tom was a converted corner to a 3 technique, in a 4-down defense where you play 4 down and 3 linebackers, we need to, in a gun world, go ahead and offset over to my right. So if you were offset there initially, 4-3 teams would set their 3 technique here. The Mike linebacker would set behind me in the A gap. You'd have the defense in, and then you walk out outside linebacker. The problem the pistol creates is going back in the pistol is we're not quite sure where to set the front at. So you got to go back to your tight end rules, your base defense. So if they got a tight end that's flexed out or a tight end that's weak, we could set the 3 technique to our left. Tom, coming over here to my left for a second. And all of a sudden, if I set it to the left and I'm lined up on the left side and you guys are running a play to the right side, we're short numbers there. Okay?
And I'm going for a touchdown.
Yeah. So it's one thing, as far as where you're going to set the three technique, where you're going to set the shade if you're under an Eagle team, and then it's what are you keying? There are a lot of teams that line up in the pistol and just run their base plays out of inside, outside zones, and then there are teams that run the jet sweep with some of the gap schemes, counter and power out of it. And you got to say, am I going to key the tailback or am I going to key the surface, the offensive line? So there's some discussion for a coordinator. The linebacker coach is actually responsible for saying, hey, this is what I think is best for this week.
So long story short, it creates a lot of confusion, and it's pretty exciting for fans out there that, like me, they're just going to be watching and going to see something going on here.
Absolutely, and based on what Dan said, say they set the three technique, because a lot of times, say we come out in even 2x2. Now from the defense standpoint, trying to set the strength, you hopefully you pick the field if you're on a hash, but if you're in the middle of the field, say the defense calls strong right, offense is left, and we want to try to find a bubble. Well, now we got the shade and the 5 to the weak side. We're going to check with me.
There you go.
So now we have the advantage again.
And Damien, Penn State, we know a little bit about what they run. How do you stop these guys? You got a lot of athletes on that side of the ball.
Well, you had a funny line earlier.
Blitz them.
We know Schaefer.
You got two guys that are new that are really taking their first snaps in a major college game in front of a national audience. You got a head coach who, and I love the fact that he's a defensive coach. The whole team's going to embrace that defensive mentality of just being excited and wowed. What you don't want to do is give a first-time quarterback time to sit back there, get comfortable in a pocket, and then start to, read his keys. I would assume there's going to be a lot of line movement with slant angle games. They're going to start to bring the fifth linebacker. If they start to bring more people into the box, the 21 personnel, 2 backs and a tight end, don't be surprised to start seeing max blitzes out of it. Put pressure on them. That's the key to the game, I think. My opinion.
There you go. Danny, thank you so much, guys. Well, you're obviously going to be with us the rest of the show here, but remember that trivia question just a few minutes ago? We'll bring it back up for you. Damien, I'm sorry to say you were wrong. I gave you a trick question, though. Which of the current BCS bowl games, we'll give it to you on this one, was the first to invite Syracuse? The answer, let's show it. It's actually the 1915 Rose Bowl, yes. And Syracuse declined the invitation, and here's why. Because they actually already made a West Coast trip earlier. They were the first Eastern football team to go to the West Coast. They tied Montana in a snowstorm, 1915. Think about how tough it was to go across the country. And then they played Ossining and Oregon State. I'm not sure what Ossining is, but they beat them both. And by the time they got back to campus, they found out they were invited to the Rose Bowl. You can't exactly just trek back out to California. So there's your trivia answer on that one. You learn something new every day. We'll be right back.
The Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff 2013. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone Countdown to Kickoff at 2013. And Damien, as we saw last year, just how much the team's work at Fort Drum really helped them. Remember, they were 2-4 to start the season, finished on a 5-1 streak to end it. Now, this year they were back at the post, and Kellie Cowan spent several days there, and she has this report.
It's a chance to get away from the grind of the summer preseason, an opportunity to foster tighter bonds and learn the true meaning of brotherhood and leadership from America's biggest team on post at Fort Drum.
It means a lot to see a lot of the different people, the different Rangers, soldiers and their stories that they have to tell us about the Army. And, a lot of cool things about the Army, more than just the guns and the tanks and everything. But, actually what they go through and what they give up just so that, we can do what we do.
The players arrive in true recruit fashion on Monday. They'll spend the week sleeping in barracks, dining alongside soldiers, and tackling drills designed to test them both physically and mentally.
We base it off on things that we've done in the past, things that, like I did as a drill sergeant in the trail in Fort Benning. We came up with these different obstacles and based on real life scenarios and try to have them go through it and build leadership themselves.
With all of this, it helps out the communication with because we have to use each other to get through all of the obstacles that we're going through. That comes down on the field, like when a quarterback is talking to the running back, it's all communications. And just having that, being able to gel like that is going to help a big part.
It's a rare glimpse of Army life that leaves a powerful impression on the team.
We got kids playing football, 18, 22, 23-year-old kids, and we got kids getting ready to go to war. In a second's notice. They're ready for a big deployment coming up here, and for our kids to get around those guys that put it on the line for real, it makes us really appreciate who they are and give us a chance to try to emulate them to some degree in the small stage of college football.
You learn that no matter what you're going through, football is just a game. You know, granted, we love to play it, and, you know, we like to think of it as much more. It's not a life or death situation, which a lot of these guys, you know, all these guys that are on this base go through, you know, each and every year. So we appreciate what they do for us, and we learn to just play this game and not take it for granted.
The 100-plus man roster is broken down each day into 10 to 20-man units. Teammates from different position groups learn to work together in new ways.
We're a mix of offense, defense, special teams, everything put together, and it's good to learn about these freshmen. You know, a couple defensive guys who I don't know very well. John Michael Fisher, the punter's on my squad, and so you get to really know everyone who's on this team.
It's been interesting the way they intermix the players, so offense and defense, so they're really getting to know each other and form some lasting bonds that I think will pay big dividends on the field later.
It gives us a better chance to be a real good football team. You know, a sense of accountability, a sense of togetherness, a sense of not just offense and defense, but just being one cohesive team. And I think that's the most important thing that we come away with here.
As the team prepares for the tough road ahead in the ACC, they're confident that their time in Fort Drum has prepared them for any obstacle.
It's pretty impressive stuff. They're pulling the truck. You know, Kellie, you spent quite a bit of time up there. What was the feeling you got from the team up there?
Well, first off, I think they were excited to get away from the grind of two-a-days, you know, so mix it up a little bit and get some different action in. But there was a real sense of mutual respect and awe almost between the football players who were excited to see, you know, what Army guys go through on a daily basis, what these soldiers are doing. And then also the soldiers there were really excited to see how this football team prepares for a season.
You know, and Danny, obviously a couple years ago, 2011, when you were on the staff, they went up there and they did a lot of different military drills. What's kind of the thing that you think how the team gets the most out of this exercise?
Think the biggest thing that these guys got out of this was, the team building part. You saw Jay Bromley and Mac McPherson talking about interacting offensive guys and defensive guys, which doesn't happen in fall camp. It's really, before Penn State happens, it's Syracuse offense versus Syracuse defense. And in over 2 weeks of doubles and triples back when we were playing, you get on each other's nerves. The only time you ever got to hang out was back at the dorm a half hour before the coaches checked you into bed. So the team building, I think, was the biggest part they got out of it. And then, you know, them getting to see the soldiers in action, and really having a respect for what those guys do up there.
Awesome.
That's a great point. You know, you talk about the offense and defense, and so many times, especially during camp, as you know, we go through. You talked about the offense is basically versus the defense.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, throughout the course of the season, there's times when the offense isn't performing and the defense feels like they're carrying the team, and sometimes the defense is not performing, the offense feels like they're carrying the team. But something like that, where you bring the team together and there's no offense, there's no defense, it's Syracuse. And I think it helps you go through those maybe rough stretches in the season. You know, at first I wasn't really sure about how I'd feel about doing something like that, but when you look at it and you see that last year they had that adversity, you know, they didn't have a great start and they finished the season strongly. You wonder how much maybe something like that does play a part of, you know, having that perseverance and that fight still in you and coming together as one team.
Absolutely. Damien, thank you so much. Of course, you can follow our entire sports team on Twitter. You see the handles right there. You can follow us for updates all season long. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013.
Welcome back. Now, of course, we here in upstate New York, we've known about Syracuse's move to the ACC for a couple years now. But last month, we headed down to Greensboro for ACC Football Media Day to get a feel for what the member schools think about the Orange. Take a listen.
When you got teams like Pitt and Syracuse coming in, you know, they're going to be competitive. They're coming in off strong seasons, and you know, we wish them the best of luck. And you know, we were giving them grief out there earlier about the Syracuse guys didn't have their jerseys for the picture. So I mean, it's all fair. So I mean, we're just having fun with them.
First of all, we know that they beat West Virginia in the bowl game. We know that they have pretty good players, and we know that they're going to strengthen the conference. But we'll know more about them game planning in a week.
I remember watching the Pinstripe Bowl and seeing Syracuse just absolutely slap West Virginia around. I mean, they're a great team.
Well, that's kind of a blunt way to put it, but there you go. Here's some of the numbers. SU all-time in the Atlantic Coast Conference is 21-27. The last game was one that we all remember. Syracuse rallying from 15 points down to beat Wake Forest a couple years ago. In the last bowl game, this is a great one, of course. That helmet right there, they beat Clemson 41-0 in the '96 Gator Bowl, McNabb's freshman year. Damien, I'd like to ask you, the ACC, we know there's plenty of great schools, plenty of awesome athletes in this conference. What's your outlook on what Syracuse is getting into here?
I think it's good for them. I think they have a lot of speed. I think their game actually fits in with the ACC pretty well. They have talent. They like to spread the ball around a little bit. Again, they're a very fast team. I think it kind of plays into what we want to do rather than maybe getting pounded out a lot of the times.
Absolutely. It's certainly going to be a tough challenge week in and week out. And stick around because in a few minutes we're actually, get this, we're going to do predictions. We're going to do season predictions. I'm not holding you to anything here. I'm just saying that that's the way it's going to go. Damien, thank you for that. We're looking forward to it.
Mine's going to be better than yours.
Probably. Well, let's just put that out there right now. It's probably going to be better than mine. First ACC game is October 5th in the Carrier Dome against Clemson. We can't wait for that one. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013.
Welcome back. I'm joined again by Damien and Dan. And guys, it's a number that's forever connected with Syracuse University. I don't even have to say it. 44. Legends, Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, Floyd Little propelled it to absolute history. Tradition absolutely carried on throughout the early 2000s, and the video you see coming up here is when it was retired. 2005, it was put up in the rafters for good. And guys, the debate now is, should it be unretired? Should you give it to a deserving player? And Damien, we'll start with you. We all know, as from my introduction tonight, you're a star running back at Syracuse. What do you think? You're in that running back brotherhood with the Orange. Do you think they should unretire it in certain situations?
I do, because I think there was a certain luster and allure to it that when it was available, and you know, you think about Rob Conrad and Michael Owens, and obviously, I mean, Floyd Little, Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, those go without saying. But there was something special about it. If you got asked to wear it, it was a recruiting tool, and I think when you retire it, you take away kind of some of that luster that it had.
And Danny, your opinion, obviously, you played for several. You played with the 44, Terry Richardson, right?
I did.
And what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I also played with Mike Owens, too.
Mike Owens as well.
Back in '89.
Yep.
And I wore 44 in high school. And I came to Syracuse not knowing about the tradition. And I asked Kyle Federley, I said, can I wear 44 when Mike O graduates? And he put his arm around me and he said, son, you really don't know much about Syracuse, do you? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I learned, you know, and Terry took over the number, and then I learned about Jim Brown and Ernie Davis and the great ones. You know, that number is so big. I mean, everybody plays for that number. It was something that was near and dear to my heart, and I would be first in line for tickets for the game that they unleashed that number. I think it's a powerful recruiting tool.
Absolutely.
If you're getting involved, that number alone, going back to the Express movie, that number will allow you to play with some of the top backs in the country.
Absolutely. Let me ask you really quickly. Jerome Smith, the end of this year, has another great season. Hypothetically, you know, say he wants to go to the NFL yearly, but then say Coach Schaefer comes in and says, son, if you come back next year, I'm going to give you that 44. What do you think about that? Is that a good scenario to do it in?
I think if he continues and picks up where he left off, that, you know, he kind of fits the mold with his style of play, the way he runs the ball. But what I like most about Jerome, and I've had the pleasure to be able to sit down with him, is what kind of kid he is. Great character kid.
Right.
And I think he would do a great job wearing it. And I think it's a great tool for Coach Schaefer to use. Like Dan said, you give that to a top back in the country and teach them the history, because a lot of kids nowadays, they don't know the history of the game of football, let alone Syracuse tradition.
Exactly.
So,
Danny, how excited will you be if they surprise everybody and Jerome leads the pack out of MetLife in 44? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
I mean, I spent a lot of time with him. He's a great kid, and his improvement from his first year to the second year to third year. I mean, he overwhelmed me last year with his production and the way he handled himself. I'd be thrilled if he was able to come out and wear 44. It would be exciting not just for everybody that's current in the program, but everybody that's ever put on an orange helmet and orange pants. So it would be a huge moment. It would boost the recruiting of that position, and you know, I'm sure it would bring a lot of the old guys back and reminisce about 44.
So it's unanimous here that 44 should be brought back?
It should be.
We'll see what happens.
Come back.
We know Floyd Little wants it back too, and that's a pretty big opinion right there.
Great one.
There you go. It's unanimous. You can let us know what you think. Of course, you can follow me at Twitter at Niko Tamurian. And of course, we're looking forward to that response. We'll air your responses, of course, as we go on every week, airing the Orange Zone, talking about SU football. We'll be right back with more talk about that season opener against Penn State.
The Orange Zone, countdown to kickoff 2013. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Orange Zone, countdown to kickoff 2013.
Welcome back. Damien, Dan here once again. And you know, Scott Schaefer in his press conference last week said something that really sticks out to me. He says, the one thing about the season opener is that you don't know. Because you don't know, you line up against each other. You don't know how the kids are going to react when they're in MetLife Stadium, of all places, in front of all those fans. So really, we know who we have on the depth chart, but we don't know how they're going to react out there. So we're going to do our best here. We're going to start with the offense. We're going to start with the former running back here. And Damien, the strength of the team this year, far and away, in my opinion, would be the running backs. Your thought on that unit? So many guys back.
Well, it has to be. I mean, again, we talked about Jerome and what he brings to the table and the growth he's made over his few years at Syracuse and the way he finished the year last year. Actually, really from Pittsburgh on that season when they really made a concerted effort to run the ball and balance it out, and he really took the challenge and put them on their back. And then the way Prince stepped in and put his little sprinkle in, and then the way he finished the Pinstripe Bowl was a day that many Orange fans won't forget. I know Prince won as well. So we have a strong backfield core, but don't forget about George Morris in the backfield.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one too. And then the other crazy thing about this, a guy like Adonis Amin Moore, who had about 5 touchdowns last year, he's your fullback now. But who's going to be handing off the ball to these guys? You know, it's either Hunt or Allen. Your thoughts on how this thing shakes out and really how important it is Saturday?
It's a big decision because, I think either way the team's going to rally around whoever they pick. But I think from a team player standpoint, you want to know who your quarterback is.
Right.
I don't want to go in the first game still not knowing, thinking everyone's getting equal reps. Let's just pick the guy and go with it. You have that old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, but I don't believe it's necessarily true. But I think each brings a little something different. Drew, I think he's a natural, mature leader on the football field. I think he can handle certain situations. But Terrell has that moxie and that composure about him, that ability to, if something breaks down, he's going to find a way to make a play. And I think he brings that little bit of confidence and swagger to an offense that's sometimes needed. So either way, I think they'll be in good hands, and I look forward to seeing what they do.
It's going to be really exciting to see who's under center for that first one. But shifting focus to the defense now. Danny, the defense is certainly excellent this year, and perhaps the deepest unit on the team, in addition to running back, would be the secondary. Talk to me about these guys in the defensive backfield.
Most of these guys were there since I was coaching several years ago. Rashard Anderson, Keon Lynn, Eskridge is there. Wayne Morgan came in, Julian Wiggins, Wiggum, I've been reading some really good things about. So a lot of experience. I remember when these guys were true freshmen, just stepping onto the field and still making plays. They're athletic guys. They're Scott Schaefer secondary guys. And I remember I was at the Connecticut game last year, and I watched Terrell come in and had a huge hit. I think it was on a quarterback on one of the safety blitzes. And guys, with the experience that they have right now, I think rolling into Chuck Bull's defense, I think they're going to excel. At the linebacker position, there was those 3 starting linebackers. Dyshon Davis, we were just talking about the hit from Rutgers last year.
I love this hit, by the way, by Cam.
Cam Lynch at the for the safety and the pinstripe ball, and Marquise Sproul. I think you got 3 really athletic, dynamic players. We talked about it briefly in the break that those guys remind me a little bit of when you go back to the Doug Hogan and Darrell Smith there. I mean, we went from 100th in total defense to 16th in the country, and then 6th in sacks. Those guys can blitz, they can bend, they can stick their foot in the ground. They're productive players, really fired up. So, I'm not saying big question, but I think you got some new guys on the edge. That'll be the focus point, I think, for me watching Saturday's game.
Danny, how special is it for you? Obviously, guys like Marquise, Dyshon, Cam, you recruited some of these guys. You were there when they got on campus. How special is it to see them really blossom into guys?
I still keep in touch with these guys.
Great.
They are great kids coming through the program. People ask me, do I miss coaching? I said, I miss being in a classroom at 3 o'clock and spending 45 minutes with those guys. The best part of my day was being in a classroom and spending the time on the field with those guys. And then it wasn't so much all football, it was watching these kids grow up like a Doug Hogue, who was, not quite sure if he was going to be at Syracuse or leave, and all of a sudden he ends up being in the NFL. And I remember him sitting in one of the meetings, kind of getting after one of the young freshmen who thought he was a man at 19 years old, and Doug set him straight. So it was a joy, and I think that's why a lot of guys get into coaching. They love the football part of it. They love teaching kids, and it's kind of born into you. So I'm excited to see those guys play this year.
No question, guys. Thank you so much. Can you believe we're in the home stretch of our Orange Zone countdown to kickoff of 2013. When we come back, Damien, myself, will give you our predictions. We've been teasing you about this the whole show. We'll finally tell you what we think the Orange's record will be when we come back. We're in the end zone now of the countdown to kickoff 2013, and Damien, about 48 hours away, less than that now from Penn State. What are your thoughts on how this thing's going to shake out on Saturday?
Well, I think with two new quarterbacks starting on either team,
right.
I don't think you're going to see a lot of offense. I think you'll see relatively low, medium scoring game, maybe something like a 27-14 Syracuse.
I'm on board with that.
I'm going with Syracuse.
I'm going with Syracuse too. I'm going to say 24-14. So we're on the same page here. But, you know, you see Penn State, they got quite a few athletes here. But remember, they've got 20 less scholarships this year, and they're not the Penn State of old. So I'm on board with our prediction, and I think a lot of Orange Nation is. A lot of prognosticators out there are a little negative about it here. But I think, you know, Damien, this 1-0 is a big key going forward. If you beat Penn State, it sets the stage going forward. What do you think for the season? And at the end, tell me what you think the record's going to be.
No, it is a big game, and anytime you have a first game, again, like I said earlier, it's the biggest game because it's the first game you have, and it's the only game you need to focus on. Whether they win or lose, though, I don't think it sets the tone for the season. I mean, a few years ago, they had a great start, then all of a sudden they had a collapse. Last year, they started off slowly, and they make a great run. So either way, I think you're gonna go through some tough times throughout the season. Let's not put all the focus on one game, but the only focus they have right now is this game. And I think that when it's all said and done, Syracuse will be bowling again. I can see like a 8-4, 9-3. I really do.
9-3.
I like them. I like this team.
I love that. I love the way you think. I'm going to go 7-5, starting with a win Saturday against Penn State. That about does it for the Orange Zone. Countdown to kickoff 2013. Damien, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Niko Tamurian. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.